Hello, welcome to another episode of Daily Market Mastery with me, Christian Rauchenwald. On this, what do we have? Thursday. I hope you all had a great week so far. Apologies for yesterday. I didn't find the time to actually come online for the stream because I was busy with doing something else. But today I'm back. Now, before we jump into it, as always, let's first get the usual disclaimer out of the way. Everything that I share in this live stream / video is my personal opinion and in no way financial or professional advice of any kind. You should always do your own research, consult certified professionals, draw your own conclusions, and make your own decisions. And 1 second. Hey Siri, pause the music. Oh no, it's not. Siri is already off. There was an echo from my
There's
MacBook.
nothing playing.
Yep, thank you, Siri. Anyway, besides that, all the tools that you see in this live stream / video, so the charting software, the broker, the strategy I'm following are all linked in the video description down below. And the one thing, if you're tuning in for the first time, that I recommend is to check out the Elliott Wave principle, which you can read online for free when you follow the link in the description down below. That said, yeah, don't forget, like, subscribe, enable notifications. So if you enjoy the stream, give it a thumbs up. It really helps me a lot. And if you subscribe and enable notifications, you don't miss out on future episodes. With that said, let's jump directly into it. As you can see, today we are actually having a slightly green start into the day. So it's been a little bit alternating throughout the week. Our portfolio moves sideways. So starting a day with plus 100, the next day with minus 100, and so on. For this week, nothing changed, so we still have the 5 GameStop covered calls that expire this Friday, and I'm fairly certain they will expire out of the money, which means we'll just pocket the premium and we'll be able to sell new covered calls. We can already check premium-wise if it might be worth, there's already 3/5 of the profit for this week accumulated, so we might already roll those into next week, which would be the 4th of October. If we were to do that, we'll have to wait 4 minutes for the prices to actually show up. So while we do that, we actually can jump into the charts. We're going to start with GameStop as usual, so nothing changed here. My overall assumption is still that unless we break here what did we have here, 25.24, I still consider it likely that we might see another push down into the $15 range, which would also make it smart or reasonable to actually roll our options into next Friday already, while because if the price were to go down, then the option premium becomes less and we would get even less money for the week for those written call options. Now, of course, there is the option, as I mentioned, that indeed we finished a corrective pattern and we're going up from here. But again, I consider it still more likely that we'll get another push down first. Outside of that, we have our Novavax long-time call option that expires in January. As mentioned, we were waiting to see if we'll get another push down to potentially finish this triangle pattern. And for this push down, we would actually expect the break through this trend line here. So we're not there yet, but it looks like we might get there. Now, it's also possible that obviously that move down will eventually prove me wrong. But considering the following, we don't need this anymore for now. Considering the following, that technically that line is set wrong. It should be set like this. That we are really moving inside that one we don't need anymore. And instead of this one, is that point set correctly? Just a second. Yep. Yeah. So we're really moving inside this triangle. It's contracting, but only slightly contracting. So it looks more and more like this might be a set A, B, C, D, E in progress, E not finished yet, to finish up this triangle pattern before we then would get our upwards move. Yeah, so other than that, not much change. The alternative, that one we also don't need any. No, that's actually for the target channel we still need. Yeah. So now might also be a potentially good time to enter. As for the risk, we would have what's that? 20% risk or 30% risk to down here, where we would have to admit that my labeling is wrong. Whereas to the upside, however, if my labeling is right, we still have 200 to 500% upside. So risk reward ratio in Novavax is, in my opinion, really, really great. Yeah, moving on from Novavax, what do we pick next? Let's work from the top. Barnes & Noble Educational. So As I pointed out last time, it looks like we might still get, so have here wave A, wave B, wave C, and have here 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now it's possible that 5 finished here exactly on the 50% retracement, which would also means we reached the minimum target for wave C, which means now might be a good entry also in Barnes & Noble Education Inc. Because from here, if that is indeed the finished correction, and we have 2 forecasted areas that would point towards that, we actually should get to see the next 5 wave move upwards, which means we would have at least, what's that, 50% upside. It's still possible that we get another push down. It would bring us down to the 61.8 retracement, because here we would also have an overlap of 2 forecasting areas. But the downside here is approximately a little bit more than 10%. So we still also, or we would also have a good risk reward ratio here. Now market should be open, which means we can check the GameStop premiums for next week. It's not that great. We'll actually need a strategy builder to do that. So we would want to buy back this Friday's call options, and on the other hand, sell next week's. And we would want to do 5 pieces of that, and the medium would be $15. So it's not too much, but it's still a little bit of money that we can get this way. So as we can see, $70 for the week, not a fortune, but still a little bit if that order triggers, and it triggers. So we got out of our call options for this Friday and secured a $30 profit effectively on those options, and wrote new call options that again would also bring us in that case almost $100 in total. I mean, we had to consider that we bought those old ones back, yeah, for next week, which is still, it's not as juicy as it used to be, but especially if we consider that my forecast actually would consider or predict that we first get another downwards movement, the premium that we can get this way now is better than what we could get if or when GameStop actually goes a little bit lower. Now, of course, if GameStop moves higher, then I missed out on some options profits, but that's okay. Now, moving back, so Barnes & Noble Educational, we had, we already covered that basically. So I think there's a decent chance that this might mark the turnaround point, but even if we go a little bit further down, it's not too bad. On the other hand, what's on the other hand? Let's move on. What else do we have? How is CrowdStrike doing? Okay, short correction. There might be another push down here. We haven't reached the minimum target for wave C yet, so I believe there is still going to be a push up as well into the $309 area, anywhere between $309 and $330 before we might see the next strong downward movement. GameStop we covered. That we don't need immersion. Yeah, so we're still waiting. So basically for either a reasonable strong move upwards or for a strong push downwards to either confirm that this is the end of the corrective pattern and we're going up from here, or that we might see the 78.6 retracement first. No, maybe we get a chart to load. Let's try to switch to a daily chart here. It doesn't switch while it's loading. Let's give it a minute. Maybe for a change it actually loads. Well, let's try different. Let's remove it from the watch list and edit again. Now not loading, so yeah. Costs, yeah, so still dumping around or moving around the 50% retracement line. Here again, as long as we don't break below 652, my analysis would actually label it as end of the correction here and next upwards movement starting. When we will get high or when there's upwards movement is going to continue, it's hard to say. But in the meantime, what did we say? 652 actually marks the point where we have to consider alternative labeling, which marks right now also a potentially good entry point, because we would have a very, very close stop loss in case we are wrong. So less than 10%, and with huge upside, so like 200% if we are right. So Maxon we don't need actually. No, didn't load. So which is a pity. Neo had some strong moves, yeah, so we're still missing the target area. We can see that potentially this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and wave 5 pushes us into the minimum target area, where one could consider taking profits, or then simply waiting, because the next thing that should happen is a 3-wave corrective pattern, followed then by another 5-wave move upwards. So I think Neo will have a bright future over the next couple of years ahead, or actually at least months ahead. Yeah. So again, finishing this wave, getting a correction, and then finishing the next move up. Novavax we already checked out. Nvidia, yeah, unchanged from 2 days ago. So as mentioned, there's still a little bit room upwards to reach the second target area. It's possible that in this case that we will shoot through the 100% line. The question is, however, how far. I wouldn't get into it now. I would wait for this to happen and for the next corrective pattern to play out before I'd consider a new entry. The same is most likely also true in the NASDAQ, where we also reached the minimum target area now. And on the other hand, are not 100% sure if we will indeed reach the 100% target area or not. And so depending on that, I'd rather wait than the next corrective pattern and then use that as a potential entry point. If we look at SPY, it's also similar, so we're still in the upwards movement. There we actually touched the 100% target area. It's possible that this labels as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So there might be a little bit of an upwards move still left. Overall, even using Kennedy channeling technique, there we have the different points. So Kennedy channeling technique would go like this in this case. So 3, 4. We see we reached the minimum of the middle or the median of the destination channel. We didn't reach the top. But I think it's possible that we're going to top out here. Maybe we go a little higher, but again, I expect the next corrective pattern to follow soon before we then see further upwards movement, or have to consider that we reach the end of a bigger 5-wave impulse and see a bigger corrective move down as well. SMCI, yeah, so as we pointed out, it looks more and more likely that this is indeed marking the wave 1, 2, of the next 5-wave impulse move up. We're going to see actually in the next couple of weeks, if we get some strong movement up here, then it would be, even right now, it would be a potentially good entry. We have like 15% risk or roughly like that, with 200% upside. However, other stocks like Novavax, for example, offer a better risk reward ratio. But overall, SMCI offers, like, based on the pattern, it's reasonably likely that we actually finish the correction here and will make our way back up to the all-time high over the next couple of months. And with that, we actually, Wheeler, that we can actually check out Wheeler Real Estate. Okay, there we corrected more than I thought. I actually thought that we'll have a 1, 2, 3, 4 or 3 here, but it looks like that's not the case. So on the bigger scale, we had, let's reset that. We had basically a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for wave 1. And then we have here a wave 2, or what we think is wave 2. And then we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we're currently actually correcting this move most likely. So from here to here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ABC. Yeah, so, okay, let's zoom out a little bit on the daily chart. Okay, daily is a little bit too little. Did we already? Okay, so should have done that sooner. So on the daily chart, it looks more like this. We now reach the 100% target area for a correction. However, we also have the 168. So there is a decent chance, or there is a chance that we already finish, or that we're finishing the correction right now at the 38.2 retracement, which marks the 100% target area for this potential pattern. Let's zoom in a little bit. Interesting, the high that we have shown here, so on the daily chart, we have a high here at 45. Let's clear the local data. There might be some fluke. Now there we have actually, yeah, and on the 8-hour chart, we don't have this data, do we? Let's see. Well, are we going to get the 8-hour data or not? yeah, maybe we won't get the chart. Yeah, so but based on assuming this data that we have here is correct, we would assume that this is A, B, C as a corrective pattern, and then we could potentially have, now we have it, okay, we could potentially have our turnaround here. It looks like on the lower time frame we had wrong data because our high wasn't that high, so the pattern looked as if we already made a new high, which is obviously, yeah, flawed assumption. So not sure how that happened, and also our low point here is somehow wrong. So, okay, there is something wrong with the data. So between the different time frames, because obviously what we see here versus, oh no, now it's matching up. Okay. So we have here 38.2 retracement, which is the minimum target, and actually, okay, we had the 61.8 retracement. So that actually would mark a good entry point, because potentially this is on one hand the 100% target, on the other hand we bounce from the 61.8 retracement. We might have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves finished here. So now we are finishing the correction, and from here we should at least get another 5 waves up. So there should be some decent upside still to have or to get in real estate as well. Yeah, and that pretty much marks the end for today. So yeah, I know if since there are no questions in the chat, there's nothing you guys want me to look at, and I, again, as so often, have quite a full to-do list. So we're gonna call it a day here. I hope you were able to take something away. Don't forget, again, reminder, like, subscribe, enable notifications, so at least a thumbs up helps me a lot. And with that, I'm gonna wish you a pleasant rest of the day, and we see each other then again tomorrow, roughly 5 minutes before market open, for another episode of Daily Market Mastery. Till then, bye-bye.